Hello, everyone. Welcome back. In the last video, we looked at a game that a son of mine and I played in the Scoth Gambit. Today, we're going to look at how Praggnanandhaa, when he was a little bit younger, handled the Scoth Gambit. It was not the best opening demonstration by Praggnanandhaa, but after the opening, his game was really good. Praggnanandhaa with the black pieces. We have e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, and white decides to transpose into the Scotch. E takes d4, e5. Again, something I mentioned in the last video. You need to know the move d5 in this position. d5 is played by Praggnanandhaa. White should not take. This helps black tremendously. We are currently up a pawn. We have these nice pawns here. If white takes here, we check first. We're more than happy to trade queens. And then we're simply up a pawn. Which is why, after d5, white's best move by far is moving the bishop, which is what he does, pinning this knight and also still attacking this knight. Praggnanandhaa moves his knight to e4. White gets his pawn back and pressures this knight. Praggnanandhaa plays bishop d7, double defending the knight. White takes. This so far is the same as the game that Sudeep and I played together in the previous video. Praggnanandhaa takes back and he maintains the two bishops. Now, the thing about the bishops, and you will see this in this game, black wants to keep those bishops. Black believes that these bishops in the long run will give him an advantage. So let's take a look what happened. White castles, which makes sense. Now this rook can play chess. The best move here is bishop c5, or at least the main move. My student and I played bishop e7. Praggnanandhaa plays rook b8, which is not the greatest move in the world. This is the game in question. It was played 7 years ago. The point is Praggnanandhaa improves the rook, puts pressure on the pawn, which makes it hard for this bishop to come into the game. And white plays knight b3, which is a reasonable move. The knight retreats, it blocks the rook, and it also stops our bishop from playing chess. Praggnanandhaa plays bishop e7 to get ready to castle. White now develops his bishop, also hits the pawn. Praggnanandhaa saves the pawn, pawn a6. And here computer wants white to start expanding, but white plays in a slightly more passive fashion, developing his pieces, bringing the knight into the game. Praggnanandhaa trades knights. White, of course, takes with the queen, connecting the rooks. And Praggnanandhaa makes a mistake. He plays f6. He wants to challenge this pawn. The problem with this move is white can simply take. The problem is, of course, you don't want to take this way because your king is now open. If you take with the bishop, the problem is you will not get a chance to castle. After bishop c5, castling through check is not allowed, and white gets ready to bring the rook, and white is doing quite well. White did not find that move. He plays bishop d4, which is also reasonable, improving the bishop, getting ready to bring the rook. Praggnanandhaa now takes. Again, he doesn't have a choice because white is threatening to take. Again, taking with a pawn. Taking with a pawn opens us up, and taking with the bishop allows the check. So we need to castle. Sorry, we need to take first, and then we need to castle. Takes, castle. Okay, white is better. His pawn structure makes more sense. Our king is a little open, but we do have a long-term advantage of the two bishops. White plays queen c3, put in some pressure here, And white certainly wouldn't mind if we played bishop f6, because the rule is if your opponent has two bishops, you want to trade off one of them. Also, the other bishop is not very good because the pawns on light squares block him in. But Praggnanandhaa wants to keep the bishops. Rook f7, defend the pawn. Queen g3, here in the pawn, and here Praggnanandhaa comes up with a nice idea. He decides to sacrifice this pawn and start an attack. He plays rook b4. White decides to take the pawn. The queen is attacked. Praggnanandhaa saves it. And white retreats the bishop back, where he is doing a very decent job. But now, although white is up a pawn, black is going to start to cause trouble. Rook g4 first, attacking the queen. Queen goes to c3. Maybe there is an idea of knight c5. Praggnanandhaa stops at pawn c5, also gaining more space. We have ideas of d4. White plays f3, kicking our rook, but now the dark squares start to become open. And we have a dark square bishop. Praggnanandhaa drops the rook back. We might have ideas of bishop h3 now. Queen a5. The problem with white's play is he's trying to go after our weaknesses on the queen side, but black is gathering forces on the other side of the board, and this rook is still not playing, and this knight, for the purposes of the attack on the king, it's a little bit too far. And Praggnanandhaa plays bishop d8, killing the queen. Queen moves to d2, attacking this. Here already computer wants to play d4 and gain more space and may bring the bishop over here, but... And the other point of this, by the way, is we now build an outpost on this square. Praggnanandhaa just defends, and white needs to stop black from playing d4, but he does not. He plays king h1, and now d4 does happen, and Praggnanandhaa can get this bishop to this beautiful, beautiful outpost. Queen f2, which it's not entirely clear what it accomplishes, but Praggnanandhaa simply improves all his pieces. Plays bishop d5. We now have a very nice bishop on this diagonal. We might at some point consider some sort of sacrifices. White knight finally decides that it's time for him to come back, but this is not the right time. And now Praggnanandhaa first brings the queen. Computer wants already to bring the bishop here, but this is good enough. Queen attacks bishop. Bishop retreats, and now the bishop comes. Bishop is coming here next. White inserts the knight on e4. Notice we cannot take twice because we're going to lose this rook. So takes. We don't want to take here because we lose the rook in the game. And trading queens ends our attack. So of course we don't go for this. Instead, now we see every one of Praggnanandhaa's pieces causing trouble. Queen e1 saving the queen, queen h5. Now again we have some very nice queens and rooks, nice bishops. And already computer is starting to suggest moves like queen a5, which tries to create some sort of counterplay. Or queen d1, realizing that you need to support this. Instead, white carelessly decides to grab the pawn. Knight ac5, and here Praggnanandhaa has a beautiful, beautiful move. I hope you will take your time and find it. I hope you were able to find the beautiful sacrifice rook takes f3. If white takes with a pawn, he will get mated. We'll just take back and take again. And in the game, white took with the rook, and now we could, of course, take with the bishop. But even more beautiful is to take with the queen. if he takes, bishop takes is checkmate. This is very, very nice. So in the game, white cannot take, but checkmate is threatened. The only way to stop the checkmate is to defend it with a queen. Queen f1 is played. And here we have one more tactic. I hope you were able to find another beautiful sacrifice. Queen takes g3. And again, of course, white cannot take back because he will now get mated with the rook. And here white resigned. So, a very important rule. If your pieces are lined up, if all of them are attacking, start looking for sacrifices. And vice versa, try to use all your pieces. White rook is not playing. White knight is offside, which made black's attack much more easy to conduct. Very impressive game by Praggnanandhaa. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, please subscribe, and I will be back soon. Thank you.